ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च। Let's recite once again. महत्सेवां द्वारमहुर्विमुक्तेस्तमोद्वारं योषितां सङ्गिसङ्गं महान्तस्ते समचित्ता प्रशान्ता विमन्यव सुहृदः साधवो ये। One can attain the path of liberation from material bondage only by rendering service to highly advanced spiritual personalities. These personalities are impersonalists and devotees. Whether one wants to merge into the Lord's existence or wants to associate with the personality of Godhead, one should render service to the Mahatmas. For those who are not interested in such activities or associate with people fond of women and sex, the path to hell is wide open. The Mahatmas are equipoised. They do not see any difference between one living entity and another. They are very peaceful and are fully engaged in devotional service. They are devoid of anger and they work for the benefit of everyone. They do not behave in any abominable way. Such people are known as Mahatmas. So as we were discussing yesterday, so here Lord Rishabhdev is continuing his discussions regarding the goal of human life. So in the first verse he spoke about the goal. Tapo divyam putrakayena sattvam shuddhyeti asmad brahma saukyam tvanantam. So Srila Prabhupada in his lectures on these verses he says, so in the second verse Lord Rishabhdev is teaching how to perform tapasya. So that is the connection. How to perform tapasya. So one must perform tapasya under the guidance of Mahatma. Okay. And who is a Mahatma? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says what? Mahatmanastamam bhartadevi prakritamashada bhajanti manaso gyatva bhutadimaviyam. So that's Mahatma. And here also the qualities of Mahatma are being described. And as Srila Prabhupada writes in the translation itself, Srila Prabhupada is explaining there are two types of Mahatmas. There are impersonalist Mahatmas and the devotee Mahatmas. So the impersonalists also, so these are of course not Mayavadis, the Brahmavadis who are on the bona fide spiritual path. So they are also transcendentalists. And so therefore, they also can be called as Mahatmas because Bhavanam Janmanamante Jnanvan Mam Prabhati. So ultimately even the impersonalists who are following the bona fide process, then even they can reach the Supreme Lord. So therefore they can also be called Mahatmas. But depending upon which type of Mahatma one associates with, one will get that type of destination. Right? If one associates with the impersonalist Mahatmas, then one will also get similar destination, similar goals, similar destination. So everything depends on whom we associate with. And we had quite a good discussion on association yesterday. And so therefore, if one associates with the Yoshit, so Yoshit, here in the word to word, what is the translation for Yoshit? Yoshitam of women. Right? In his lecture, Srila Prabhupada says, Yoshit is the representative of all sense objects. Woman is the representative of all sense objects. So Yoshit in general refers to all sense objects. So if one associates with the sense objects, then obviously Dhyayato Vishyan Pumsan, then we know the effects of that. So here it is said Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. Yoshitam Sangi. Sangi means those who associate with Yoshit. So Yoshitam Sangi Sangam, associating with those who associate with Yoshit. Correct? Not directly also, but those who associate with Yoshit, those who associate with sense objects, those who associate with sense gratification, those who rejoice in sense gratification. So by associating with those people also, then Tamodvaram Yoshitam. So therefore, so it is not only just the women or the sense objects, but even those men who enjoy sense gratification. So one should be careful with them also. And of course this discussion comes further on also. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Asat Sangyag E Vaishnavacha, then Sri Sangi Ek Sadhu Krishna Abhaktar. So two types of Asat Sang Mahaprabhu is speaking about. One is Sri Sangi, same thing here, Yoshit Sangi, or the Sri Sangi. He is a sadhu. And the second type of Asat Sang is Krishna Abhakta, one who is not a Krishna Bhakta. And under Krishna Abhakta, then all the Mayavadis and Karmis, Karmakandis and Yogis, all of them come under the category of Krishna Abhakta. So one should be careful while associating. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Mayavad Bhashi Shunle, Boy Sarvanash. So therefore one should be very careful not to associate with such people. And we have discussed these points many times. Not only just neophyte devotees, but even very senior devotees in a moment, because of wrong association, which all begins with hearing. It all begins with hearing. Submissive hearing. So, but then even senior devotees with so many followers, they have left because of this wrong association. So one should never underestimate this asatsang. And that is Maya's trick. So Maya was, oh, it's okay, one time it is okay, you hear one time, it's okay. Then after one time, then mind will say, nothing happened. What happened? Nothing happened. Once more. That's how it continues. And then that's how the mind gets bewildered, one gets influenced by the asatsang, and there's a probability of leaving Krishna consciousness. So therefore, the tapasya, divya tapasya, as mentioned in the previous verse, has to be performed under the direction of the bona fide Mahatmas. Then one will get the proper destination. And so, who's that bona fide Mahatma? The qualities of that bona fide Mahatma are being mentioned over here. So, Samachitta, Prashanta, very peaceful. So, in the lecture on the verse, Prabhupada was speaking on this Prashanta, Prakrishta Rupeni Shanta, very Shanta. Shanta means what? Not just sitting idle, Shanti Shanti. That is not Prashanta. So, what is the meaning of Prashanta? Okay, one is satisfied, not agitated. Not agitated when? Yes, not agitated in provoking situations, challenging situations, situations where one may be distracted from Krishna consciousness. So in all such situations, one is not agitated. That is Prashanta. So not agitated in provoking situations. And so Srila Prabhupada says, pure devotional service is apratihata, no interruption. So there could be so many provoking situations, so many alluring situations, so many distracting situations, but a devotee, he does not get distracted. That is the meaning of Prashanta. He does not get distracted and he continues in his devotional service without interruption. Okay, and then without getting angry, Surada, Sadhava, qualified devotees, without abominable behavior, good behavior, following the Shastras. So those are the qualities of Mahatmas, and we must associate with such Mahatmas. Okay, that means those who are properly following the process of devotional service and thereby developing all the good qualities, and In this way, they are fixed in the practice of devotional service. And as Prabhupada is ending this purport by saying, on the positive side is association of Mahatmas, and on the negative side is the avoidance of non-devotees and women hunters. Okay. Fine. Third verse. ये वामेशे कृतसौहृदार्था जनेषु देहं भरवार्तिकेषु गृहेषु छायात्मजरात्तिमत्सु न प्रीतियुक्ता यावदर्थश्च लोके. Okay, read translation.
Those who are interested in reviving Krishna consciousness and increasing their love of Godhead do not like to do anything that is not related to Krishna. They are not interested in mingling with people who are busy maintaining their body, eating, sleeping, meeting, and defending. They are not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. Nor are they attached to wife, children, friends, or wealth. At the same time, they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. Such people are interested in collecting only enough money to keep the body and soul together.
Right. So, in the previous verse, he spoke about the Mahatmas. So sometimes we may think that Mahatma only refers to one in the renounced order. But here, Lord Rishabhdev is saying, no, it is not that Mahatma is only one who is in the renounced order. The Mahatma can also be a Grihastha. So what are the qualities of such a Grihastha Mahatma are being described in this verse. Ye va Mayi Ishe Krita Saurudhartha. Speaking of this verse, Prabhupada focuses on this point. Mayi Ishe Krita Saurudhartha. That means what? Very eager to develop love or develop a loving relationship in Dasa Sakya Vatsalya Madhurya. So he may be performing all the householder activities, but his main focus is how to develop a relationship with the Supreme Lord. Saurudhartha. So that is the main artha or the main prayojan of whatever he is doing, is how to develop a relationship with the Supreme Lord. But at the same time, he's performing all his household activities, duties, he's performing all that. But na priti yukta, he is not very attached. He is not very much attached to his household activities or his household affairs or his household members. He is not very much attached. But yavat artha, collecting as much as required. So to keep body and soul together as much as is required, one is doing that much. But the main goal of life is how to develop friendship with the Supreme Lord. As Prabhupada in the purport, he writes, even if one is a grihastha and has to earn his livelihood, he should be satisfied by collecting only enough money to maintain body and soul together. One should not have more than that, nor less than that. So householder should endeavor to earn money for the execution of Bhakti Yoga, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. A householder should lead such a life that he gets full opportunity to hear and chant. He should worship the deity at home, observe festivals, invite friends in and give them prasad. A householder should earn money for this purpose and not for sense gratification. So I think so we have quite a few times discussed on the ill effects of accumulating wealth and prestige. You remember? What are some of the ill effects of accumulating wealth and prestige? So this verse is talking about the householders, but even the people in the renounced order could get attached to material things. It could be wealth also, it could be post positions, it could be so many things. Even in the renounced order. And what to speak of prestige, Kanaka, Kamini, Pratishtha, So for those who are in the renounced order, maybe somehow, that's also difficult, but if somehow they get free from Kanaka and Kamini, but Pratishtha, Asha is very strong, very strong. Pratishtha, Asha. So what are the ill effects?
Pride.
Okay, pride. Why pride?
Because of post position, wealth.
Okay, any opulence can lead to pride, that's correct. What else?
When we commit offenses,
Why?
Enjoyment.
he will consider himself superior.
Okay, he considers himself superior, so there's tendency to commit offenses, right?
Focus is diverted.
Yes, focus is diverted to all these material things. Good.
Not ready to correct or take feedback from others.
Not ready to take feedback, why?
He is thinking himself superior.
Okay, he thinks himself superior. I think that's also correct.
Cheating tendency.
Cheating tendency. What's the connection?
In order to safeguard his property or post position, the cheating tendency.
Right. So in order to maintain the status quo, or increase the status, so then one tends to cheat. So His Holiness Gaur Maharaj, he says the paramour of Pratishtha Asha is Kutinati. Kutinati is the paramour of Pratishtha Asha. So when there's Pratishtha Asha, then somehow to get the Pratishtha, to maintain the Pratishtha, so much of cheating takes place. So much of cheating. So Kutinati accompanies the Pratishtha Asha.
Dependence on Krishna.
Okay, the dependence on Krishna will reduce because one feels dependent on the material things.
Envy, jealousy.
Okay, yes, envy, jealousy, as soon as material things come into the picture, yes.
Insecurity.
Yes, insecurity, yes, envy leads to insecurity. But what is the Shastric Praman for all this?
Bhogeshwari Prasaktanam.
Okay, one is Bhogeshwari Prasaktanam, okay, fine. But we had discussed one entire section of the Bhagavatam on this topic. In fact, there are two sections of the Bhagavatam which are very relevant for this. So we should always try to remember these sections so that any discussion on that particular topic, then we can refer to those sections.
Daksha?
Okay, Daksha Prajapati is there, but more precisely, this is the instructions of the Avadut Brahman to Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. No? No. So this is, ठीक है हम फिर से पढ़ेंगे ठीक है क्या So this is 7th canto, 13th chapter, text 32 onwards.
Okay, behavior of a
पढ़ो
32 words. Translation. The Brahmana continued, I am actually seeing how a rich man who is a victim of his senses is very greedy to accumulate wealth and therefore suffers from insomnia due to fear from all sides despite his wealth and opulence.
Now remember we discussed this section?
Not here.
अच्छा ठीक है. Okay, so here Lubdhanam in the verse it's coming. Lubdhanam, correct? Lubdhanam. Who's Lubdhanam?
Who is extremely
Lobhi. Lubdhanam is Lobhi.
extremely greedy.
So if one is Lobhi, then the result is his Nidra goes away. Yes, Alabdha Nidranam. So Nidra goes away. That's good, na? Huh?
देखा जाए तो सही है.
So those who experience insomnia, you ask them. We know some devotees who have insomnia. It is very troublesome. क्योंकि रात को नींद नहीं है, फिर क्या होगा? फिर सुबह नींद. कभी ना कभी सोना पड़ेगा ना? So it becomes very troublesome. But of course, these people have this problem for what reason? Because of their greed. फिर रात भर वो वही सोचते रहते हैं, अरे कैसे मिलेगा? So that is one. Okay, read the next one. आप ही पढ़ो जल्दी.
33. Those who are considered materially powerful and rich are always full of anxieties because of governmental laws, thieves and rogues, enemies, family members, animals, birds, persons seeking charity, the inevitable time factor, and even their own self. Thus, they are invariably afraid.
Yeah, so they're afraid of all these different people. And interestingly, they're even afraid of themselves. Swasman. They're even afraid of themselves. Why they're afraid of themselves?
Mind cheat कर देगा.
Uncontrolled mind. Why they're afraid?
Death.
Death.
वो तो हो गया ना inevitable time factor.
Prabhupada writes in the purport why they are afraid of themselves. The word swasmat means from one's own self. Because of attachment for money, the richest person is even afraid of himself. He fears that he may have locked his money in an unsafe manner or might have committed some mistake. That is the reason. So he locks. Did I lock it properly? Where did I keep the key? Yes, Amasya. So, and this is okay, but before we proceed, so in the purport of the previous verse, Srila Prabhupada especially gives instructions for ISKCON devotees. Previous verse, 32. 32 purport. As far as our Krishna consciousness movement is concerned.
As far as our Krishna consciousness movement is concerned, we are getting money naturally by the grace of God, by selling our literature. This literature is not sold for our sense gratification. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement, we need so many things, and Krishna is therefore supplying us the requisite money to advance this mission. The mission of Krishna is to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and for this purpose, we naturally must have sufficient money. Therefore, according to the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, we should not give up attachment to money. We should not give up attachment to money that can speed the Krishna consciousness movement.
Okay, then he talks about Falgo Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. Uske baad padho. Money is undoubtedly coming.
We should not get
When one is attached to anything.
So after that Yukta Vairagya.
Money is undoubtedly coming in great quantities. But we should not be attached to this money for sense gratification. Every cent should be spent for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, not for sense gratification. There is danger for the preacher when he receives great quantities of money. For as soon as he spends even a single cent of the collection for his personal sense gratification, he becomes a fallen victim. The preachers of Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely careful not to misuse the immense quantities of money needed to spread this movement. Let us not make this money the cause of our distress. It should be used for Krishna, and that will cause our eternal happiness. Money is Lakshmi, or the goddess of fortune, the companion of Narayana. Lakshmi ji must always remain with Narayana, and then there need be no fear of degradation.
Yes. So all preachers here, right? All preachers. Prabhupada is giving warning to all preachers. As soon as he spends even a single cent, no cents here, right? No cents, paisa, no paisa also, okay, rupees. As soon as he spends even a single rupee for the collection for his personal sense gratification, he becomes a fallen victim. The preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement should be extremely careful. Not to misuse the immense quantities of money needed to spread this movement. Let us not make this money the cause of our
Degradation.
distress, degradation. Yes. So, we cannot even tell how many cases within our movement. How many cases? So, devotees have been caught. It's so surprising. Of course, it's not very surprising because we know that Parishit Maharaj, he told Kali, because all the 4 places Kali said they're not available. So then,
Gold and money.
yes, wherever there's hoarding of gold, there is Kali. So therefore, it is not surprising. It's not surprising. The moment one thinks of misusing money, Kali is there and is going to cause immense problems. And we cannot even imagine how many problems because of money. Second initiated devotees and good standing devotees, but as soon as the money comes, in one big temple, one second initiated devotee, Grahastha devotee, there was counting of the hundi money. He was in charge. So he saw all the money. Wow! Big temple, lot of money, right? From the hundi. So put it in pockets. But what to do? Camera. He forgot about the camera. He got so absorbed in the money, he forgot about the camera. But he was caught. Caught, finished. Service, finished. On the spot. Out. And anyway, the cases are unlimited. But Prabhupada has written this, sometime in 1975. Prabhupada has written this. He knew all these things. Therefore, especially for the preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, he's not giving this instruction for anybody else. He's giving for preachers where? This Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON. Prabhupada is giving warning. So it's not that Prabhupada has written this for fun. It's not for fun. The Acharya, he knows everything, past, present, future. In other place, where one new temple was coming up, some plots were sold, and whenever there's land business, there's always cheating. So plot was sold, land was in dispute, and the devotees, all devotees involved, all devotees. Second initiated devotees, senior devotees, all devotees involved. He sold the plots of land, but when they went to occupy them, no land. Oh, so much of fighting, so much of quarreling. People left the temple, people left Krishna consciousness. My God. So many problems. Trust is broken. We should not take these things lightly. Because of this money problem, devotees have left Krishna consciousness, left our movement. So many things have happened. And practically you go to any temple, you'll definitely find some cases. Definitely. You'll find some cases of mishandling of money, and fights because of that. Therefore, Prabhupada is writing, what? Extremely careful. And we know how Srila Prabhupada was extremely careful. He would write in his accounts, even every cent, he would actually write down. Today, this cent spent for this purpose, this cent spent for this purpose. He would actually maintain those accounts so meticulously. Nothing misused. Prabhupada would actually do it. That is all. Yes, but you had some question.
Prabhuji, I just want to like what includes this personal sense gratification? Like which
Personal sense gratification means anything that is not used in Krishna service.
Let's suppose like somebody wants earphone, I want earphone.
So what is the earphone used for?
To hear
Here.
lectures like that.
Yes. So as long as it is within the jurisdiction of Krishna consciousness and authorized by the concerned authorities, it is fine.
Like sometimes we purchase some from sweet store or bakery, something we are purchasing and we are passing the bill. These things are okay, or these things are.
See, we don't want to get into all those details, but you understand the principle.
Just trying to analyze.
So understand, if you understand the principle, then everything is all right. The principle is what? For Krishna consciousness. That is the principle. So if I'm using it appropriately for Krishna consciousness, according to time, place, circumstances, according to the local policies, according to what is authorized and all that, as long as it is within the jurisdiction, then it is fine. Any doubts concern the local authorities. That is a simple thing. Okay, आगे बढ़ो.
Next verse.
So this is 34.
Translation. Those in human society who are intelligent should give up the original cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, attachment, poverty, and unnecessarily labor. The original cause of all of these is the desire for unnecessary prestige and money.
Okay, so here minimum 7 effects are being told. Shoka, Moha, Bhaya, Krodha, Raga, Klebya, Shrama, Adaya, and there are more also, but 7 have been told. Yan Moola Syu, the root cause for all this is what? Ninam. Ninam, it's only applicable to human beings, correct? Only human beings do this business, no other species. So, Ninam Jayat Spriham Prana Arthayor Buddha. Prana. So in the word-to-word meaning you can see, proper translates prana as bodily strength or prestige. Prestige. And arthaya is money. So therefore he says one should give up jayat, one should give up the spriham, the desire. Even the desire one should give up. And the desire for unnecessary prestige and money, one should give up that desire, because otherwise it will lead to all these 7 effects. All these 7 effects. 100%. No doubt. All these 7 effects. So, here again Srila Prabhupada in this purport, he gives a warning to the managers of ISKCON. So go down the purport after the Athyara Prayasa Shivas. A sannyasi should have an institution.
A sannyasi should have an institution meant to preach Krishna consciousness. He need not accumulate money for himself. We recommend that as soon as money accumulates in our Krishna conscious movement, 50% of it should be invested in printing books and 50% for expenditures, especially in establishing centers all over the world. The managers of the Krishna conscious movement should be extremely cautious in regard to this point. Otherwise, money will be the cause of lamentation, illusion, fear, anger, material attachment, material poverty, and unnecessarily hard work.
Yes. So here is the warning to the managers of the Krishna consciousness movements. So if they're not careful, then all these effects one will have to experience. And so money and prestige. So usually these are the two great problems for devotees. Money and prestige.
Poverty.
Yes. Poverty, why? What do you think? Why? How poverty is the result of this?
People will stop giving this.
Okay, that's one thing. One thing is yes, as far as we are concerned, if people see that we are misusing the money, people will stop giving. That is correct. People will stop giving. Then?
Because we will be not maintain that prestige, social status maintain करने के लिए खर्चा ज्यादा करना पड़ेगा.
वो संभव है. Yes, that's also possible.
Krishna.
Huh?
Krishna will be displeased.
Yes, Krishna is displeased. Then what will happen?
Lakshmi will be
Yes. Then Lakshmi doesn't stay. Lakshmi stays only where Narayan is present. No Narayan, no Lakshmi. That is what happens. That is exactly what happens. And so in various places, wherever these problems have happened, then everything finished. Then no more money, no more preaching, and everything finished. Everything finished. That is what happens. When Krishna is displeased, no more opulence. Opulence comes when Krishna is pleased. So therefore Srila Prabhupada has given all these warnings. And Srila Prabhupada was so particular that the money is appropriately used, no wastage. Srila Prabhupada was so careful with all these things. One is not careful, everything finished. So, just like after Srila Prabhupada ended his earthly pastimes, so then we find some places, especially outside India at that time, they started accumulating money by illegal means and resorting to illegal ways of accumulating money, unethical ways of accumulating money. And the result was devotees left, gurus left, leaders left, temples closed. That was the result. That is what happened. We can't play around. Can't play around. This is science. Srila Prabhupada keeps repeating that point. Krishna consciousness is a science. We can't play around. We can't think we'll be smart enough to circumvent all these Shastric injunctions and I will show my special buddhi. No, nothing will work. If we don't follow, the result is 100% going to be there. That is science. Yes, Prabhu.
Material opulence is not, I suspect that it's not the only indicator that, because what about the Bangalore group? They are very opulent.
Yes, yes.
So that does that mean that?
No, that does not mean. That does not mean. That is not the indication of success. That is correct. What you're saying is correct. But we're not talking about simply the material opulence. We're talking about everything goes.
That's why I just.
So even the devotees, the potency to practice devotional service, that itself goes away. Why do you think the gurus and sannyasis and leaders fell down? What is that? What does that mean? The spiritual potency has gone. That is what happens. So, in order to control one's mind and senses, and withstand the temptations, the strong temptations of Maya in this Maya Nagari. All around, what is there? What is there? The strong forces of Maya. So how are we able to maintain ourselves here? How are we able to maintain? Deveshu gunamai mamamaya duratyaya. Because there is some prabhadyante, therefore we are able to maintain. The moment that is stopped, then the forces of Maya are waiting, full attack. Now also they are attacking. Correct? Now also they are attacking. Somehow we are able to withstand by spiritual potency. The moment the spiritual potency goes away, finished. Then does not matter. Sannyasi, GVC, this one, that one, does not matter. Everything finished. So we are not talking about material opulence. We are talking about the spiritual potency. Yes.
If Krishna is pleased on them, so then that's why they are providing so much opulence.
Well, as we don't want to comment too much on that group. We don't want to comment too much on that. But then this is always the Siddhanta. See, if you want to say that they are materially prosperous, then there are so many they are spiritualists, okay? But there are so many materialists also who are materially prosperous, right? Why are they materially prosperous? On the basis of karma, one gets material opulences. But what is the result of such material opulences which one gains by simply karma? Yes. At any point of time, finished. Just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. So, we don't know how much time this person's opulence or that person's opulence on the material platform, how much time they'll last, we don't know. The wheels of time are moving, and by the influence of the wheels of time in the history, how many things have changed. Prabhupada himself gives the example of the British Empire. How opulent was the British Empire? The sun never set on the British Empire. And now, the sun does not rise. Therefore, Prabhupada said, London is hell, because the sun does not rise. So where did all the opulence go? Finished. This is history. And it happens to anyone on the material platform. And it can happen to devotees also. So therefore, just because somebody is prosperous now, materially, it does not mean it's eternal. But Prabhupada writes in his purports, but the material opulence that is given by Krishna, that is eternal. Because that Krishna is personally given, then it will always last. And that is why wherever there is good Krishna consciousness, then we can see in all aspects the centers are flourishing. Materially, spiritually, of course the main thing is spiritually, then materially follows. Because it's used in Krishna's service. Okay? Okay, fine. So anyway, so that's enough of that discussion. So on this, yes. And so here, Lord Rishabdev is saying that the Grihastha, so the Grihastha, he can also become a Mahatma. The Grihastha can also be a Mahatma. Like examples?
Bhakti-Vinod Thakur.
Yes, Bhakti-Vinod Thakur, first class example. And Prahlad Maharaj, Advaita Acharya, Ambarish Maharaj, Srivas Thakur. So many examples are there. So Prabhupada in his lecture he says, even amongst the 12 Mahajans, how many are Grihasthas? Right. So therefore, one can be a Grihastha Mahajan also. but then the principles have to be followed, what I mentioned over here. Then one is safe. Okay, fine. So now, Lord Rishabhdev continues and he says, what is the result of the asatsang? If one associates with the materialists, as he has spoken in the second verse, Mahat Sevam Dwaram Avarmuktes, Tamodvaram Yoshitam Sangi Sangam. कहाँ चल रहा कीर्तन? ओह, अच्छा। So, so another important point in the third verse itself. So, as Srila Prabhupada also writes in the purport, that at the same time they are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. They are not indifferent to the execution of their duties. So, duties they perform, taking care of wife, children, earning money, whatever is required. So all that has to be done. Their duties. Duties have to be performed. But at the same time, they're not attached. They're not attached to their homes, although they may be householders. So, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur we see. So he was doing all his household duties, going to the court, performing the court duties also perfectly. Okay, so therefore, the Shastra never accepts irresponsibility. No irresponsible behavior. Not that now I become devotee, so I can be irresponsible. No, that is not allowed. So Srila Prabhupada talks about this even as a temple residents. Prabhupada is giving class in Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada says, not that now I become devotee, so it does not matter if the thieves come and loot the temple, it is okay. No, not like that. And then he gives the example of Raghunath Das Goswami. How he was so expert even in his household duties. We know that how the Muslim Chaudhary came to arrest him and then he expertly dealt with him. So, so one of the qualities of devotee is? Yes, Daksha. He is expert. So he should be expert in all these things. Okay, in the same context, right here on the Juhu property. So as we know, Srila Prabhupada was staying in one of the tenant houses, right? So previously there were those tenant houses here. And so Srila Prabhupada had his rooms on one of them. So we see those photographs also of Srila Prabhupada on the terrace of one of those houses. So Srila Prabhupada was over there and there were a lot of coconut trees, now very few. Previously there were a lot of coconut trees. And so who's going to break all those coconuts? So they gave it on contract. So some person would come, sell them and give some money. So, so Srila Prabhupada was there and the man was taking the coconuts. And as Srila Prabhupada is looking, Srila Prabhupada immediately called the manager of this property. I mean, one of the devotees. So he called the devotee and he said, I'm seeing so many things happening. You don't see? So the devotee was a little shocked. What's happening? So Srila Prabhupada said, can't you see what the man is doing? So the devotee he tried to see, he could not make out anything. Then Srila Prabhupada said, just see that man, along with the coconuts, he is also cutting the coconut leaves. Because they sell, no? Coconut leaves also can be used for so many things. So, so Srila Prabhupada was so observant, so careful. Coconut leaves, Prabhupada said, go and tell the man, stop it. Prabhupada was so careful. So So that is the point. So not that one is irresponsible. So the householder should not be responsible, the renunciants also should not be responsible. Nobody, irresponsibility is not allowed. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 30th verse, what is this? Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashi nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vikata jvara. Giving up laziness, fight. That is what? That's duty. So giving up laziness, one has to perform duty. But sanyasya adhyatma chetasa, in a detached way, without any sense of proprietorship or ownership. So that is the way one needs to perform duties. So one cannot be irresponsible and one cannot be lazy. So yes, one has to be extremely careful about all these things. So therefore, as Prabhupada has written in the Bhagavad Gita purport, 13.8 to 12, so it is natural to have affection for family members. And so when one has affection, one performs duties out of affection, but not attached. So that is the principle that always needs to be followed. Yes. Anyway, it reminded me of one instance of how on a bus party, Vitamar ISKCON bus party, where the leader of the bus party, he's in charge. So he used some of the money which he was getting from the book distribution. He started using some of the money for some other business of his family. We're talking about effects of money. Just one example just came to mind. So he started using. Nobody escapes. Nobody escapes. It came out. And when it came out, he was stopped. Finished. Service finished. Enthusiastic book distributor. Service finished. So all these tendencies are there. As soon as money comes into the picture, I don't know what happens. But as soon as money comes, lubdhana, immediately lobe comes. Big problems, big problems. So therefore, if one does not know how to use material energy in Krishna's service, so better give it to someone who can use it. Otherwise, the material energy will burn one. Literally, it will burn. Let's be very careful. Okay, so therefore, now in the next verse, Lord Rishabhdev is speaking about what happens when one goes towards the asatsang. So asatsang, then the result of asatsang is what? Sense gratification. And what is the result of that? Next verse. Nonam pramatta kurute. No, this is not correct. Nonam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya apranoti nasadu manye yad atmanoyam asannapi kleshada asadeha. Translation.
When a person considers sense gratification the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. He does not know that due to his past misdeeds he was already received a body which, although temporary, is the cause of his misery. Actually, the living entity should not have taken on a material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it is not befitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification by which he perpetually gets material bodies one after another.
Yes. Nonam pramatta kurute vikarma. So when one gets into the satsang, then the result of that is vikarma. Vikarma. What is vikarma? Prabhupada gives very precise translation. You've seen the word-to-word meaning.
Sinful activities forbidden.
Yes, sinful activities forbidden in the scriptures. That is the definition of vikarma. And so he performs vikarma and he becomes pramatta. In the lectures, Prabhupada says, prakrishta rupena matta, sufficiently mad. Sufficiently mad. So that is what happens when one performs sinful activities. The sinful activities are driven by indriya prite, for sense gratification. So why such a person is called as mad? We explained in one class before. Why such a person is called as mad? So just like a madman, what does a madman do?
He don't know what.
Okay, he does not know what he is doing. And also the madman, he misidentifies himself with something else. So just like in Pune, there is one big mental hospital, government mental hospital. In fact, as far as my knowledge goes, that is the only reference to Pune Srila Prabhupada ever made in his lectures. So Srila Prabhupada said, I went to visit one of my friends, and a friend's son at the Pune Mental Asylum. So the friend's son, he somehow got mad, and he was so mad that he was attacking the father, blaspheming the father, attacking the father. So I had to send him to the mental hospital. So in any case, so if you go to the mental asylum, you will find that somebody says I'm Prime Minister, somebody says I'm President, somebody says I'm Police Inspector. So this is what? Misidentification. So those who are doing sense gratification, what they are doing? Misidentifying, thinking that I am the body. So then what to call such people? Mad. So mad people, they have misidentification. So those who misidentify themselves with the body, then they perform all these sinful activities, wrong activities. So therefore they are called as mad, pramatta, sufficiently mad. And they don't understand, na sadhu manye, this is not befitting. This is not befitting for human beings. Why? Na sadhu manye yada atmano yam asannapi kleshada asadeha. So this body, which is temporary, is going to be finished at any point of time, but still just to maintain this body, one is ready to perform so many sinful activities. So a few years, or we don't know how much time is there, but still just for this body, temporary body, one is ready to perform all these sinful activities and undergo so much of misery. Purport. Begging, borrowing and stealing to live for sense gratification is condemned in this verse because such consciousness leads one to a dark, hellish condition. Okay, and this also we had discussed in the third canto. In third canto there is quite a good description about what happens when one resorts to sinful activities for the sake of earning money for the family. You remember Lord Kapila's teachings? Canto 3. Jantu vachar wo theek hai. But what happens to the man who earns money by illegal means? What happens to him and what happens to the family members?
Sinful reactions.
Yes, hellish conditions. That's correct. And what happens to his family members? Because he's earning money for the family members. So what happens to family members? They also get punishment? What do you think?
Yes. He also shared the reaction.
But what happened in Valmiki's case?
They told me was the same.
He went and asked them, no, try to share the sinful reactions. What they said? No. So we won't share the sinful reactions. You do it. That's your business. You do it for maintaining the family. The man, you're supposed to maintain the family. So then what's the reality? What happens? What's that? So how much they share? अच्छा 1/6 ये कहाँ से आ गया? 1/6 कहाँ से आ गया? एक्स्ट्रापोलेशन. हाँ वही इसको बोलते हैं एक्स्ट्रापोलेशन. वो राजा के लिए है. हाँ ये सब पता होना चाहिए भाई. लोग पूछेंगे ना, लोग पूछेंगे क्या बताएं. 119:2.
That he says, please give me the reaction, or I will, my family will also be. They Prabhupada writes, if the bad son commits sinful activity, the family will remember and get the reaction. Similarly, the devotee, the parents get the credit of devotion.
Okay. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, the reference is 3:30:30. After leaving this body, the man who maintained himself and his family members by sinful activities suffers a hellish life, and his relatives suffer also. We'll read. So then the next verse translation. he goes alone to the darkest regions of hell after quitting the present body, and the money he acquired by envying other living entities is the passage money with which he leaves this world. And here Prabhupada explains. When a man earns money by unfair means and maintains his family and himself with that money, the money is enjoyed by many members of the family, but he alone goes to hell. A person who enjoys life by earning money or by envying another's life and who enjoys with family and friends will have to enjoy alone the resultant sinful reactions accrued from such violent and illicit life. For example, if a man secures some money by killing someone and with that money maintains his family, those who enjoy the black money earned by him are also partially responsible and are also sent to hell. They are also sent to hell. But he who is the leader is especially punished. That means he gets special help. So the family members also will go to hell, but the leader gets special punishment. Now what is that special punishment? That is not exactly mentioned. The result of material enjoyment is that one takes with him the sinful reaction only and not the money. The money he earned is left in this world and he takes only the reaction. In this world also, if a person acquires some money by murdering someone, the family is not hanged. Correct? The family is not hanged. All those members are sinfully contaminated. So they also get sinfully contaminated because the money is sinfully contaminated and they are enjoying that money. So therefore the family members also get sinful contamination, but according to the law of the land, then they don't get the punishment. But the man who commits the murder and maintains his family is himself hanged as a murderer. And the important principle Prabhupada is writing, the direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. Very nice principle. The direct offender is more responsible for sinful activities than the indirect enjoyer. So somebody is directly performing the sinful activity and others are sort of helping and all that. So they will also get some reaction, but the one who is the main person, the leader, then he is more responsible. The great learned scholar Chanakya Pandit says, therefore, that whatever one has in his possession had better be spent for the cause of Sat, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one cannot take his possessions with him. Prabhupada quotes in some lectures the Sanskrit. They remain here and they'll be lost. Either we leave the money or the money leaves us, but we will be separated. The best use of money, as long as it is within our possession, is to spend it to acquire Krishna consciousness. And the next verse again he says, thus by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the maintainer of kinsmen is put into a hellish condition to suffer for his sinful activities like a man who has lost his wealth.
So it's just like in an example of Ravan. His wife, she must be enjoying the same property, but she was chaste wife also, and then she was giving good advice also. So in that case, she will suffer.
Of course, over there we do find that Srila Prabhupada also explains in his quotes that as far as Mandodari is concerned, so we find that Mandodari is always greatly glorified as a very chaste lady. And maybe Prabhupada says, I don't know, but I heard from one senior devotee that especially in South India, we do find that people sometimes name their daughters as Mandodari. But we never find, I don't think so, anyone names the son as Ravan, right? Huh? Duryodhana is there. Wow. So any case, so the point is that because she was always on the path of dharma, so most probably she will not get the reaction. But of course, some reaction is there. She is also has to undergo the pain of separation from the husband, and so some suffering is there in that way. But because she was doing her duty properly, so no major reaction as such. Okay. And of course, Ravana was also, he was killed by none other than Supreme Lord. So therefore then all his sinful reactions also were nullified. And so therefore we find that this is all there in the Bhagavatam itself, 9th canto of the Bhagavatam, 2 chapters of Ramayana. So we find that this Vibhishan. So Vibhishan, Lord Ramchandra told Vibhishan, perform the last rites. Initially he refused. He said, such a sinful person, why should I perform the last rites? But Lord Ramchandra said, no, you must perform the last rites. Why? Because now he has been purified of all the sinful reactions. So therefore, that's definitely a special case. Lord Ramchandra is personally killing. So therefore, there's no question of sinful reactions. But for ordinary people, then this is what is going to take place. Yes. Again in the next verse, Prabhupada says, when a man steals some money, if he's caught and agrees to return it, he is not freed from the criminal punishment. By the law of the state, even though he returns the money, he has to undergo the punishment. Similarly, the money earned by a criminal process may be left by the man when dying, but by superior arrangement, he carries with him the effects, and therefore he has to suffer hellish life. So all these are laws of karma. One cannot escape. Okay, and the next verse says, what is going to be the punishment? Therefore a person, this is the 33rd verse now, 3:30-33. Therefore a person who is very eager to maintain his family and kinsmen simply by black methods certainly goes to the darkest region of hell, which is known as Andhatamis. So this is the result of maintaining one's family by adharmena kutumba bharana. So in this purport again Prabhupada writes, maintaining one's family is certainly the duty of a householder, but one should be eager to earn his livelihood by the prescribed method as stated in the scriptures. And then that means according to Varnashram system. So Prabhupada is talking about Varnashram here. And then in the next paragraph Prabhupada writes, one should work honestly according to his qualification. He should not earn his livelihood unfairly by means for which he is not qualified. If a Brahmana who works as a priest so that he may enlighten his followers with the spiritual way of life is not qualified as a priest, then he is cheating the public. One should not earn by such unfair means. The same is applicable to a Kshatriya or to a Vaishya. It is especially mentioned that the means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. Again, instruction for devotees Prabhupada is giving. See, all these are very important when, so Grihastha devotees, they ask these things, we should be able to give solid references for these things. Therefore, we should know. Otherwise, if we don't know, we'll speculate something. So therefore, we must know these. At least as Bhakti Vaibhav students, we should know. Otherwise, they'll say, what Bhakti Vaibhav you did? Siv certificate mil gaya, kuch aata nahi. So, we should be knowing these things. So, Prabhupada is giving nice instruction. The means of livelihood of those who are trying to advance in Krishna consciousness must be very fair and uncomplicated. Very fair and uncomplicated. So, if this is applicable for Grihasthas, then what to speak of those in the renounced order. Huh? What to speak of those in the renounced order? But still we find these things happening. Otherwise, if one maintains his family by prescribed methods and honest means, there is no objection to one's being a family man. That he who earns his livelihood by unfair means, Kevalena, is sent to the darkest hellish region. So one should be careful of all these things. So all, as Prabhupada very often said, the laws of material nature are, yes, very stringent, very strict, and one cannot escape them. One cannot escape. Not that I'll do whatever and then escape. So tendencies are very strong, unfortunately, and unfortunately we find these things happening even in our society, amongst devotees. We find these things happening. So cheating propensity is very strong. Cheating propensity is very strong.
What is meant by uncomplicated here?
Uncomplicated. Atyahara prayasascha. No prayas. So whatever is easily possible, without too much of endeavor. Too much of endeavor. How much is too much endeavor? How much is too much? Yes, compromising one's basic practices of sadhana, one's basic practice of Krishna consciousness. No time to even chant 16 rounds. Then definitely it's going in the zone of prayas. So therefore, and without too much of complication in the sense that cheating, bribery, this, that. So some, as we know, especially in the political field, it's all so complicated. So much of bribery and this and that. So there was one devotee, initiated devotee, who was who had a post in the health services, Maharashtra government. A very top post. And so when he joined that post, so then obviously being a devotee, then he was trying to be honest, no bribes and things like that. But then when the top man is not taking bribes, then all the juniors felt insecure. Because they want to take bribes, but the top man does not take, they are going to be in trouble now. So then what they did? They started plotting to kill this devotee. So his Christian master told him, resign the job, forget it. Too complicated. Too complicated. No use. So that's sometimes too complicated. Things can get. So one should be able to lead a life without too much of complications. Okay. All right. So this is all vikarma. This is the vikarma and the result of vikarma. That is why we discussed all this. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying, is quoting in the Vedas, it is said, Asango hi ayam purushaha. The living entity is not really connected with this material world, but due to his tendency to enjoy the material senses, is put into the material conditions. One should perfect his life by associating with devotees. He should not become further implicated in the material body. So now, somebody may say, okay, I will not perform karma, I will perform pious activities. That's good, right? What is it?
For that,
Huh? No. Why was the problem with pious activities?
Again, you will get a material body to enjoy it.
Yes, even if one performs pious activities, one has to come back to this material world to enjoy the results of pious activities. So therefore in the next verse he says, Parabhavasta vadabodha jato yavan jigyasata atma tattvam Yavat kriyasthavadidam manovai karmatmakam yena sharira bandha. Translation.
As long as one does not inquire about the spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. Be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, consciousness is unclear. And as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body.
Yes. So even when one performs pious activities, but that's fruitive activity, so then one has to accept a material body. So then what happens? Parabhava. Parabhava. So one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. So the basic purpose of human life will be defeated. If one performs any type of material activity, pious or impious, one will have to accept another body. So that is why even the pious activities are not encouraged. As Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur commenting on the verse, he says, okay, then one should perform pious activities, because in the previous verse, Vikarma was mentioned. Okay, then somebody may say, then one should perform pious activities. But then he says, since pious activities are also a cause of samsara and thus cause suffering, one should engage in jnana, which destroys sin and piety. Then he describes about jnana in the further verses. So, dependence on karma or bondage of the jiva, that is parabhava, is produced from ignorance. So the root cause is ignorance. This remains as long as one does not inquire about the Atma. Jnanagni sarva karmani basmasat kuruti Arjuna. O Arjuna, the fire of knowledge burns all karmas to ashes. As long as knowledge does not arise, karmas are not destroyed. As long as pious and sinful activities remain, the mind will remain absorbed in action. Because of the mind absorbed in actions, bondage to bodies continues. So even if one performs pious activities, the bondage to the bodies continues. Yes, Prabhupada is also quoting the same verse. Yatedam si samitugani. Okay, Prabhupada's purport. Generally people think that one should act very piously in order to be relieved from misery. But this is not a fact. Even though one engages in pious activities and speculation, he is nonetheless defeated. His only aim should be emancipation from the clutches of Maya and all material activities. Speculative knowledge and pious activity do not solve the problems of material life. So speculative knowledge is the process of jnana. So therefore either it is karma or jnana. Pious activities is karma, speculation is jnana. So both of them do not solve the actual problems of material life. And so Prabhupada is, in this verse itself, Prabhupada is talking about the practice of jnana also. What is the result of that? The famous verse, Ye adhyarvandaksha vimuktamanna svayasta bhavad avishuddha buddhaya aruya krishnena param padam tatha patanti adha anadrita yushmadangraya. So that is the result of one who is practicing the process of jnana. He thinks he is liberated, vimukta maninaha, but actually that is not true liberation. Why it is not true liberation? Yes, because he falls down. Why does he fall down? Yes, because he does not get the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. So such people may approach the impersonal Brahman effulgence, but they fall down again into material enjoyment because they have no knowledge of devotional service. As long as one is interested in karma and jnana, he continues enduring the miseries of material life, birth, old age, disease and death. Karmis certainly take on one body after another. As far as jnanis are concerned, unless they are promoted to the topmost understanding, they must return to the material world. Or they take a long time, bahunam janmanam antijnanam prapadyate, to become a devotee. And so therefore, anya vilashita shunya jnana karmadi anavritam. The real bhakta is untouched by any tinge of karma and jnana. His only purpose in life is to serve the Lord. So therefore, Lord Rishabhdev is saying, don't contaminate life with karma or jnana. So karma includes either sinful activities or pious activities. Both will lead to bondage. And even if one takes to the path of jnana, that is also not the ultimate solution to get free from suffering and miseries. So we'll continue class till 1 o'clock, right? Gayatri later. Chalega, na? So we don't want to stop the flow, otherwise to get everyone back into the mood of the class, very difficult. Okay, 6th verse. Evam mana karma vasham prayunte avidyayatmanya upadhiyamane priti nayavan mayi vasudeve na muchyate deha yogena tavat. Translation.
When the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, he does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being, and his mind is subjugated to fruitive activity. Therefore, until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept material body again and again.
Yes. So as long as evam manaha karma vasham prayunte. So as long as the mind, so all the problems are in the mind, basically. It's all the enjoying mentality, that is all in the mind. So that is how the material energy influences the subtle body. That has already been covered in detail in the 4th canto 29th chapter by Narada Muni. So therefore the mind is very powerful. So here also, evam mana karma vasham prayunte. So when the mind is influenced by ignorance, avidyaya, then the result is covered. Unless priti na yavat. So unless he comes to priti, loving mai, that is Vasudeva. So here Rishabdev, he is Vasudeva. So unless one comes to loving the Supreme Lord, so till that point of time he is going to be in ignorance. And the mind is going to be influenced by either karma or jnana. So therefore the solution is, one has to come to this Priti Vasudeva. Then that is the ultimate solution. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, when the mind is polluted by fruitive activity, the living entity wants to be elevated from one material position to another. Generally, everyone is involved in working hard day and night to improve his economic condition. Even when one understands the Vedic rituals, he becomes interested in promotion to heavenly planets, not knowing that one's real interest lies in returning home back to Godhead. By acting on the platform of fruitive activity, one wanders throughout the universe in different species and forms. Unless he comes in contact with the devotee of the Lord, a guru, he does not become attached to the service of Lord Vasudeva. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudulabha. And then he's also quoting Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavanachi. So only when one comes in contact with a bona fide spiritual master, then only it is possible for one to actually come to this Priti Vasudeva, a loving devotional service, and then only it is possible for one to come out of material bondage. Okay, 7th verse. Yada napashyatya yatha guneham swarte brahmatta sahasa vipashyat gata smriti viddati tatra tapan asadya methunyamagaramagya.
Even though one may be very learned and wise, he is mad if he does not understand that the endeavor for sense gratification is a useless waste of time. Being forgetful of his own interest, he tries to be happy in the material world, centering his interest around his home, which is based on sexual intercourse and which brings him all kinds of material miseries. In this way, one is no better than a foolish animal.
Yes. So here Lord Rishabdev is speaking about Srila Prabhupada in the purport he is writing. On the lower platform, one may sometimes be interested in philosophical speculation with a tinge of devotion. So what process is this? Philosophical speculation with a tinge of devotion. Yes, this is Gyan Yoga. This is Gyan Yoga. So here, Lord Rishabdev is speaking about the Gyanis. So therefore, he's saying, even though one may be very learned and wise, vipashyat. So this refers to the jnanis. So they have knowledge about Atma and body, they have all this knowledge. Atma Tattva they do understand. But even though one may be vipashyat, but still it is very difficult for him to be free from this tapan asadya maithunyam agaram. Even though one is a jnani, but still he is put into forgetfulness of his own interest. Swarte pramatta, here also the same word is coming, pramatta. Swarte pramatta sahasa vipashyat gata smriti. He forgets his swartha, he forgets his real self-interest. Even though he is a jnani, he forgets his real self-interest and he falls to the trap of what? Maithunya agaram. So that is what happens to the jnanis and yogis. Repeatedly we hear examples of jnanis and yogis falling a trap to sense gratification, especially sex life. Examples? Vishwamitra, famous example, Prabhupada repeats. Saubhari Muni is there. Then? Okay, that Vyasdev and Jaimini. Agnidra. Of course, Agnidra, he was a king. He was performing pious activities. But we also find so many other sages. Indra sent some apsaras. How these this wife of the Prachetas, who was she? Yes, Pramlocha and what is that Muni? Kandu, yes. Kandu Muni and Pramlocha. The Pramlocha was Apsara from the heaven that Indra sends to disturb this Muni. And then from them that daughter was born. What was the name? Marisha, correct. Marisha. Yes, and then she married the Prachetas. So again and again we find these things happening. So that's what he's writing. So even if one takes to the path of Gyan to escape the miseries of the material world, but still it is not easy to get free from especially this sex attraction. Maithunya agaram. Very difficult. Why? Because the hard knot that is coming in the next verse. That is coming in the next verse. But anyway, so in this purport Prabhupada writes, however, at that stage one is still interested in sense gratification and is contaminated by the modes of material nature. The influence of Maya is so strong that even a person advanced in knowledge, that is what is being said here, vipashyat, advanced in knowledge, actually forgets that he is Krishna's eternal servant. And therefore he remains satisfied in his householder life, which is centered around sexual intercourse. Conceding to a life of sex, he agrees to suffer all kinds of material miseries. Due to ignorance, one is thus bound by the chain of material laws. And so, what is the problem? Next verse, famous verse. Pomsa, just one second, we'll just. Pomsa striyami tuni bhavametam tayor mithor hridaya granthi mahu ato griha kshetra sutapta vitte janasya mohoyam amameti. Read.
The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to this body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine.
Okay, you can read the purport.
Sex serves as the natural attraction between man and woman. And when they are married, their relationships becomes more involved. Due to the entangling relationships between man and woman, there is a sense of illusion whereby one thinks this man is my husband or this woman is my wife. This is called Hridaya Granthi, the hard knot in the heart. This knot is very difficult to undo, even though if man and woman separate either for the principles of Varnashram or simply to get a divorce. In any case, the man always thinks of the woman and the woman always thinks of the man. Thus, a person becomes materially attached to family, property, and children, although all these are temporary. The possessor unfortunately identifies with his property and wealth. Sometimes, even after renunciation, one becomes attached to a temple or to the few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi. But such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. The attachment to the family is the strongest illusion. In Satya Samhita, it is stated, Brahmadya Yagyavalkya Muchante Stri Sahayina Bodhyante Kechanai Tesham Vishesham Cha Vido Vidu. Sometimes it is found among exalted personalities like Lord Brahma that the wife and children are not the cause of bondage. On the contrary, the wife actually helps further spiritual life and liberation. Nonetheless, most people are bound by the knots of the marital relationship, and consequently, they forget the relationship with Krishna.
So this is a very deep, tight knot, Hridaya Granthi, Hridaya Granthi. And this Hridaya Granthi, so basically this is the Granthi of false ego. The false ego is the basic cause of the enjoying mentality. And so this is such a tight knot that even the Jnanis and Yogis cannot give up very easily. Very difficult, even for the Jnanis and Yogis to give up. So therefore, a similar verse comes in Sanat Kumar's prayers, Sanat Kumar's teachings to Prithu Maharaj, 4th canto, 22nd chapter, text 39. Yad pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitamudgratayanti santa tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo piruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam karmashayam gratitam, same word, gratitam. This karma asha is basically the enjoying mentality. It is very tight knot. Since how long? Yes, time immemorial. Very difficult to give up. So therefore, Rikta Mataya in that verse, Rikta Mataya means what? The mind which is empty of bhakti. So it refers to the Jnanis and Yogis. So the Jnanis and Yogis who don't have bhakti, for them to get free from this granthi, this knot of the enjoying mentality, karmashim, and the highest form of that enjoying mentality, sex life, very difficult for them to give up. And so therefore, only the devotees who are yatpada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya. So the bhaktas, the devotees, vilas means what? Yes, recreation, or they are relishing. They are enjoying at the toes of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, in that purport, Srila Prabhupada's main focus is that how the devotees, by their devotional service, they get the higher taste. So because the devotees are able to get the higher taste in the practice of devotional service, so Prabhupada says, therefore, so the Jnanis and Yogis, they are simply trying to give up desires, but the devotees don't try to give up desires. What they try to do? Yes, engage the desires in Krishna's service. Superior desires. One must cultivate superior desires. Prabhupada writes in that purport. Superior desires to serve the Lord. And thereby they get the higher taste. Then it is possible to give up the lower taste. Otherwise it is very difficult. And the Jnanis and Yogis, because they don't get the higher taste, therefore the enjoying mentality still remains. And that is how they fall victim to sex life. And that the principle applies for everyone. Even for devotees, the same principle applies. And so therefore, one has to find the higher taste in the practice of devotional service. How to get the higher taste? Okay, let us hear some thoughts on how to get the higher taste.
Serving the Mahatmas.
Okay, serving the Mahatmas, what happens?
So the enjoying propensity will be reduced.
Why?
Because Mahatmas always, they are thinking of the Lord. So our service to them also makes us engaged completely in the service of the Lord.
Okay, fine. So by association of Mahatmas, okay, one also engages totally in Lord. Okay, good. Something else? Okay, Shrutam Swagata Krishna. Yes, so that is also one way of developing the higher taste. Okay. Something else? How to develop higher taste? Yes, similar point. Padarajovishekham. So that is attracting the mercy of the great souls, the Mahatmas, by serving them.
Engaging oneself in the service of the Lord.
Okay, one engaged in service of the Lord. By serving the Mahatma, that is also engagement in the service of the Lord.
There is like Lord, like in our practical life of brahmachari life, that in deity worship.
Okay, deity worship. Of course, ultimately a devotee can never serve the Lord directly. So even when we're doing deity worship, are we serving the Lord directly? No, we are going through. Yes, we're going through the spiritual master and the Guru Parampara. We have no adhikar to serve the Lord directly. Our service to the Lord is always through the service of the devotees. In fact, if you remember yesterday we read the purport for Satam Prasangan. What Prabhupada has written?
Association.
Association. Aage kya hai?
Faith and conviction.
Association of devotees is association of the Lord. So our association with the Lord comes through association with devotees. No direct business. One can never approach the Lord directly. Okay, any other thoughts? Higher taste?
By pleasing.
Yes, by pleasing whom? Myself. Okay, by pleasing the devotees. Yes?
By chanting Hare Krishna.
Yes, by chanting Hare Krishna.
By reading Shastras.
Okay, by reading Shastras, that's true. Okay, all these are correct, but there's one important point.
Prasadam.
Yes, definitely, very important. Only prasadam. So in the Madhuri Kadambani, Vishwanath Thakur makes one important point. So taste means which stage? In the 9 steps of Ruchi. Before Ruchi, what is the stage? Nishtha. So Nishtha means what? Yes, steady service. So when one when one has taste, is there a big tapasya in doing something? No. So if one is told, please come and eat some gulab jamuns, please. If you please come, we'll give you 1,000 rupees also. Required?
No need.
So when the taste is there, there is no tapasya, correct? When is the tapasya? When there is no taste and still one has to perform an activity, that is real tapasya. Correct?
Yes.
So just like sitting in this class, this is tapasya. Correct? For those who don't have much taste, so it is tapasya. But when one does it regularly, even though there is no taste, then Krishna is pleased. That is Nishtha. So Nishtha means Sattvagun. Correct? The verse for this stage is what? Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadasya chetayate ranavidham stitam sattve prasidati. So sattva means, so when one is on sattva gun, one performs activities as a matter of duty. So duty means I may like it sometimes, I may not like it sometimes, but still I do it. That is duty. So when one performs activities steadily, the activities of devotional service, the instructions of the spiritual master steadily, day in and day out, every day, not as it is said, fair weather devotees. You heard this term? Fair weather devotees. So when everything is nice, I will attend the morning program when everything is just the way I like. But if it is not, chodo. No, not like that. Every day performing the activities of devotional service. That is Nishtha. When one does this, this is the price one has to pay. Please remember this point. It's a very important point. This is the price one has to pay if one wants to attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna and get taste. It is not something which is going to come cheaply. Krishna doesn't give anything cheap. So therefore, this is the price one needs to pay. Vishnu Thakur very clearly explains this point. Many times devotees think, if only I taste, then I would perform devotional service nicely. No, Krishna says, no, it doesn't work this way. It works the other way around. First you practice steadily, then you will get taste. That is tapasya. So that is how it works. So when one continues to practice, whether some days I may like to do it, some days I like to chant, some days I don't like to chant, some days I like to come to class, some days I don't like to come to class. That is the nature of the mind, correct? Sankalpa vikalpa. That is the nature of the mind. But throwing aside the dictations of the mind, when one is fixed on the duty platform, this is the instruction of my spiritual master, this is the instruction of Shastra, therefore I must do it, irrespective of whether the mind likes it or not. When one does it, then Krishna is pleased by that steady practice. And when one continues on, then Krishna slowly gives the taste. That's how one can develop the taste. And that is what is the essence of bhakti. And that is what differentiates the devotees from the other transcendentalists. The other transcendentalists don't get that taste because they don't surrender to the Supreme Lord in the first place. There will be some bhakti, but there is not much surrender. And so therefore, they don't get the taste. The same principle applies to bhakti also. If you don't get the taste as given by the Supreme Lord, then it is difficult to be saved from this granthi, very tight knot, karma granthi, or especially the granthi of sex life. Very difficult. Okay, we will read a part of Srila Prabhupada's lecture on this verse, which is quite interesting and a little humorous also, and very applicable for brahmacharis. So Prabhupada says, if one is not jigyasu, if one is not inquisitive about the miserable condition of his life, if he remains satisfied in miserable condition of life, then he is nothing but animal. Animal cannot understand. Animal is being taken to the slaughterhouse and they are going very easily. One animal enters the slaughterhouse shed, every animal will enter. In Hindi it is called Bhediyachar. One Bhedi enters, then all the Bhedis will enter. Automatically, He does not know that where I'm entering. I'm entering in this way for being slaughtered, but he has no knowledge. This is going on. This is called illusion. Aham mameti. So, unfortunately, in the transcription, because whoever did the transcription must be some Western devotees, so most probably they couldn't make out the Hindi. So Prabhupada saying we in Hindi, and it's missing. But because we heard the lecture, so we know what Prabhupada said here. So Prabhupada in Hindi says, what is that? ढाल ढोल बजाकर गधा बनाओ, बेवकूफ बनाओ. So that is what Prabhupada quotes. And then Prabhupada is saying, when you are married in India, there is some band party. And the bridegroom is decorated like king. And he is on the horseback and he is taken. But one who knows, he says that this rascal is becoming more rascal. So therefore, to check him not to become Gadha, so he is simply becoming Gadha. Not to become Gadha, as the first education is Brahmachari. Don't enter. Don't enter this Pumsa Striya Mithuni Bhava. That is education. That is called Brahmachari. Warning that it is not good. Better remain Brahmachari. Brahmacharati iti Brahmachari. What is the main business of the Brahmachari? Brahman Charati. That means what?
Contemplate on the Brahman.
Yes. Remain with Brahman. Celibacy. You will be happy. If you do that, you will be happy. That is the first education, Brahmachari. Then one, if he is unable to remain Brahmachari, alright, take wife, regulated, grihastha. Don't remain cats and dogs. That is not human civilization. First of all, education is don't unite, remain Brahmachari. But if you are not able, alright, take a wife like a gentleman and live like a gentleman. Ek nari Brahmachari. That is also. If one is satisfied with one woman, then he is also Brahmachari. He is not Vyabhichari. So that is regulated. That you must have wife. Not must have, but if you cannot avoid, it's not must have wife, but if you cannot avoid, take one wife and remain as grihastha. And there are so many rules and regulations of grihastha life. Grihastha life is not that whenever I like we have sex. No, that is not. That is regulated. Once in a month, when there is menstruation, and if the wife is pregnant, then no more sex life. There are so many rules and regulations. The grihastha means one who follows the rules and regulations of sex life. That is grihastha. Not that simply united man and woman and live like animals. No, that is not grihastha. That is called Grahamedi. So, and then he's talking about Grahamedi. Grahamedi means he does not know the rules and regulations. You think that this family, this husband and wife, children, home, that is everything. That is called Grahamedi. But Grihastha means he is as good as sannyasi. Grihastha means he is as good as sannyasi. So either it is Grihastha ashram or sannyas ashram, the same thing. Ashram means very easily understood in India. There is discussion. The place where spiritual culture is cultivated, that is called ashram. Spiritual culture is cultivated. But if one is unable to accept sannyas ashram or brahmacharya ashram, that is grihastha ashram, not that animal ashram. Animal ashram. Yes. Kiva vipra kiva nyas. Hridaya Granthi. So Prabhupada says we are already attracted to these things. And when it is united, then we see practically in our Indian families that when boy is grown up, girl is grown up, the father, mother unite them in a marriage system everywhere. But India is still going on. Why? Because unless he is married, he will not get attracted to this material life. So father and mother's duty is to unite them so that they may not be spoiled. They may not be like cats and dogs. At least there will be some regulative principles they will follow. But the bondage is as soon as they united, economic development. Ata, Griha, Kshetra, Suta, Apta, Vitte. Then certainly now we must have apartment. So either you construct a house or rent a house. Anyway, money is required. So you'll be able to earn money. I've got wife. I have to keep her nicely. I have to eat nicely. I have to give her dress and so on, so on. So first of all, get one apartment or house or the Griha. Then how to maintain the house. Formerly there was no other business except agriculture. Okay, so all that, other Griha, Kshetra, Suta, Apta, Vitte. So, and then Prabhupada is saying, there was one great big man long ago, he had no child. So he came to my Guru Maharaj and he offered, Guru Maharaj, if I get a child, I can give you the whole estate. So these are natural demands. First of all, husband and wife and child, then apartment, then land, then friend, then money. In this way we become entangled more. Aham mameti. So instead of Sukhera lagiya ei gara bandhu, I became a householder for happiness. Aguna purya gela. Now there's blazing fire. And there is another. Ravana hoila ithe gatila janja. I wanted to be happy in this way, but it has become an embarrassment. So this is going on. Yes. So therefore, tapasa brahmacharya. Okay, fine. So, these are some points on this verse. So therefore, this bondage is very strong. Bondage between man and woman, very strong, very tight. So therefore, one should not underestimate. One should not underestimate. If one wants to remain in the renounced order, then one has to be serious. One has to be serious to steadily practice devotional service and attract the mercy of Guru and Krishna. There is one letter, I don't know if somebody can do a quick search. You see in the letters, you see 1968, letter to Haigri Prabhu. And one word for search you can say is Mr. Lust.
Regarding your enemy, I noted the difficulties.
Yes.
7th October 1960.
Read. Give him the mic.
Regarding your enemy, Mr. Lust.
You can tell the reference.
This is letter to Hagriva, 7th October 1968. Regarding your enemy, Mr. Lust, I have noted the difficulties, but we should always remember that Krishna is stronger than any demon, and Mr. Lust or his father or his grandfather, nobody can do anything provided we take shelter of Krishna very tightly. Now, so far as your personal matter is concerned, you are a brahmachari, you can marry at any time. And in New York, all the nice girls, they are actually very suitable for our students. And I encourage that all the brahmacharis may be very responsible and marry one of the girls. Because generally the girls desire a good husband and a good house, children. That is their natural propensity. So we want to show such ideal householders also. But the proposal that marriage will solve the problem of lust is not practical. Neither wife should be accepted as a machine for satisfying our lust. The marriage tie should be taken as very sacred. One who marries for subduing lust is mistaken. Because lust cannot be satisfied simply by indulging in sense gratification. It is compared with the extinguishing the fire with large amount of petrol. For the time being, the fire may appear to be extinguished by pouring a large quantity of petrol. But the petrol itself is so dangerous that at any time it can be inflamed. So to subdue lust is a different process. Then you have to take to deity worship. I am sending here with a copy of the process of deity worship. Krishna is Madan Mohan. You have already stated in your letter, it's very nice that you would much prefer to channel your desires to Krishna, and you ask me how is it possible which when enveloped in Maya, seeing only material forms. You have also written to say that if you can see the absolute beauty which is all attractive, then you could not help but be attracted and would scorn mundane beauty.
Yes.
This is actually the remedy.
Yes. Right. So that is the point. So one has to develop the higher taste by strongly taking shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Tightly, yes, Prabhupada, what is it? Tightly, yes. Tightly catch hold of the Lord's lotus feet. Lord is Madan Mohan. So therefore that is the remedy for this problem. In Srila Prabhupada's purport here, Srila Prabhupada is even talking about the renunciants. Sometimes even after renunciation one becomes attached. And we know the famous example is? Yes, the Gaudiya Mats. Gaudiya Mats. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur said, Agunjvalbi, there's fire in the mats. Why? Because even the sannyasis, Prabhupada is talking about sannyasis here. One becomes attached to a temple or to few things that constitute the property of a sannyasi. So even sannyasis, one can get attached to material things. So therefore, very strong, these attachments are very strong. Few things, Prabhupada is writing, that constitute the property of a sannyasi. But such attachment is not as strong as family attachment. And then Prabhupada is giving here the example of even Brahma. Right, even Brahma became attracted. So therefore one has to be careful. Okay, 9th verse. Yada mano hridaya grantirasya karmanubaddo dhrida ashlatitha tada jana samparivartate smar mukta paramyatyatihaya hetum.
When the strong knot in the heart of the person implicated in the material life due to the result of the past actions is slackened, one turns away from his attachment to home, wife, and children. In this way, he gives up the basic principle of illusion, I and mine, and becomes liberated. Thus, one goes to the transcendental world.
So this is the solution that he is talking about. So when the yana mano hridaya grantirasya karmanu baddho dhrida ashlatita. So it is very dhrida. This hridaya granthi is very dhrida. So when does this karma granthi, when it is totally cut, at what stage of devotional service? Yes, prema. What is the verse from the Bhagavatam? First canto, second chapter. Yes, vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshayaha chiyante chasi karmani drishva evat manishwari. That is the prema stage. When, as Prabhupada in the purport says, at that stage Krishna unties this knot. Krishna unties this knot. The knot is so tight, only Krishna can untie it. But when will he do it? At the level of prema. So then, when this knot of mithya ahankar is untied, then what happens? Chidyante sarva samshaya. Then all the doubts are destroyed. What is the doubt? What is the basic doubt? What is the basic doubt? Who am I? That is the basic doubt. Who am I? So that simple Siddhanta, Jivera Swarupoi Krishnera Nitya Das, my identity, the full revelation of that takes place at the level of prema. So simple, no? I'm Krishna Das. Anybody can say it. But to get the full realization of that, only at the level of prema. Because as long as mithya ahankar is there, enjoying mentality is going to be there. Correct? As long as the ahankar is there, the hridaya granthi, that is the ahankar is there, enjoying mentality is going to be there. Only when the false ego is converted into true ego. What is true ego? I am servant of Krishna. That takes place at the level of prema. Right. So that's what he's saying. So when the strong knot is slackened, when it is slackened, ashlateta, tada, at that time, janah samparivartate asmat mukta param yati atihayat. So then his attachments for home, wife, children, all that will be slackened, and in this way he can give up this aham mameti principle, and then he can go to the spiritual world, transcendental world. So the entry into the spiritual world can only take place when the mithya ahankar is destroyed. As long as mithya ahankar is there, one cannot enter spiritual world. So the mithya ahankar has to be turned to true ahankar. Then only one becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual world. And how is that going to take place? That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. When by associating with sadhus, the key is association. When by associating with sadhus and engaging in devotional service, one is gradually freed from the material conception due to knowledge, practice and detachment. The knot of attachment in the heart is slackened. Thus one can get free from conditional life and become eligible to return home back to Godhead. And what is the process? What is the process to become free from this mithya ahankar, so that this knot of ahankar is slackened? What is the process to be followed? That is what Lord Rishabhdev is describing in the next 3 verses, from 10 to 13. Yes, please.
This the translation, the word is used due to the results of past actions.
Read that. Which translation?
This one. And the strong knot in the heart of person implicated in material life due to the result of past action is like endless.
Correct. So the strong knot is due to past action. The strong knot is due to what? It is due to past karmas, isn't it?
I mistaken the English. This previous question, can I ask now? This purport where it's mentioned that karma and philosophical speculation, the Prabhupada is using the word tinge of devotion. So why this tinge of devotion?
Yeah, so the jnani also requires some bhakti, no? Bhakti mishra jnana. The jnanis also, they have some elements of bhakti in their process, because they know that without some bhakti they cannot attain liberation. So all the other processes, karma, jnana, yoga, all of them require little bhakti to attain perfection in their respective processes. Some amount of bhakti is required. So therefore some bhakti is required.
For the performance of their activities?
No, because even to achieve impersonal liberation, because impersonal liberation is what? Merging into Brahman. Is Brahman material or spiritual? Spiritual. So if one wants to attain something spiritual, then the blessings of the spiritual energy have to be there. Without the blessings of Bhakti Devi or the internal potency, one cannot get a spiritual result. So therefore it is, because they want a spiritual result, right? Even entering into Brahmajyoti is a spiritual result. So how it can be attained simply by some material activities? It is not possible. So therefore, even to achieve that impersonal Brahman, the mercy of the internal potency is required.
And same with the knowledge of the karma. You said the karma is also involves in bhakti.
Yes, karma yoga. So karma yogis also require some bhakti. The jnana yogis also require some bhakti.
So of course by that the performer cannot reach to the impersonal, but he come to the jnana yoga because of performing along with the bhakti is there. He comes to the next stage. Is correct?
Yes, that's also correct. Yes, that's correct. So, but basically the point is that just like even, therefore anyone who offends the Supreme Lord, then they don't get the grace of Bhakti Devi. Then they don't get any result. That is what Krishna verse. What is the 9th chapter verse? Avajananti Mamoda is the 11th verse. And so the 12th verse is Mogasha, Moga Karmano, Mogyana, Vijedasa, Rakshasam, Masuram Chaiva, Prakritim, Mohinam Shrita. So the Mogasha refers to devotees. Moga Karmano refers to the karmis. Moga Jnana refers to the jnanis. So all of them, they cannot achieve their respective goals if they offend the Supreme Lord as mentioned in the previous verse, Avajananti Mamoda Manusham Tanmashritam. So if they offend the Supreme Lord by saying the form of the Lord is Maya, then none of them can achieve the results of their respective processes because Bhakti Devi is displeased because of offending the Supreme Lord. Therefore, everyone requires some bhakti to achieve their respective goals. See? Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll continue at 2 p.m. Okay, so let's take attendance today. Come. Yeah. एक यहाँ आदित्य राम प्रभु, अद्वैत करुणा प्रभु, उसके प्रभु नहीं, and भावमय नित्यानंद प्रभु, चैतन्य जी प्रभु, चैतन्य स्वरूप प्रभु, गोपाल प्रभु, हरिनारायण प्रभु, हरिदेव शरण प्रभु, हेमगिरी प्रभु, कृष्ण प्रभु, मनमोहन कृष्ण प्रभु नहीं.